Hey there, it's Jessica Hartley here to talk about love, sex, and relationships. And today, let's talk about mastering our sexuality. So, what does that mean? Well, if you're in a marriage or a long term relationship, you know that it's very easy to neglect the sexual relationship that you have with this person. Things get routine, you start to have kids, there's priorities that change, and you don't have the freedom or the ease of the sexual connection that you once had. So it's a very, very important to learn to not only nurture that sexual relationship, but to really know how to nurture it in the way that will benefit you and them and the relationship the most. So we know that our sexual relationship is already one of the things that makes this relationship with your romantic partner different from any other kind of relationship. So it's very important to draw our attention to nurturing and keeping that alive and preserved and maintained, and not just working but thriving. So when we talk about sexual mastery, a lot of that has a lot more to do with myself than it does them. And that can be contrary to what we've been taught or the norms that we've been given, because we're often told that we need to cultivate that desire or attractiveness from our partner, and it's up to them. And if they are not showing that attraction or desire, then there's nothing else I can do. Well, that's absolutely false, because desire and attraction is an energy that comes from within you. And just like all energies, the more that you cultivate it and bring it out inside of you, the more that it will be reflected in your outer experience. And that specifically being your partner. They are the one that reflects most of your inner energies and states of being and emotions and thoughts the most to your life. So for better or for worse, they will reflect back to you what you have going on inside of you. So a lot of times couples come to me and they say, oh, our passion is dead, or he has no desire, or she has no desire, or I'm the only one that wants it, and my partner doesn't reciprocate. And they're very frustrated, and they have a reason to be frustrated, because that frustration is really asking them to grow, to change something. Now, unfortunately, a lot of people change something by leaving the relationship or blaming their partner or resenting their partner and having an affair or something like that. And that's not the most mature, for lack of a better word, way to work with that. See, the frustration is meant to help you grow and to go more inward and internal, rather than trying to find ways to ease that frustration outside of the relationship, even within your partner. So sometimes if you were to blame your partner for not doing sexual A, B, or C, or bringing that into the relationship, that still, even too, is also not the most effective way. So when we have sexual mastery, what we're cultivating and what we're bringing forth and building into our relationship is a thriving sexual, passionate marriage or relationship for the long term, and being able to maintain that and enjoy it. Sex is really a creative energy. It's a very fun and playful energy, and it's also an energy that is meant to bring your connection closer together. Sex is very much like a very intimate conversation, where you're using your body and your connection and your presence to converse in a very meaningful way. So, of course, there are so many different things about sex that are important to address, but I've sort of narrowed it down to 5 fundamental aspects that are important to keep in mind when we are wanting to cultivate this kind of thriving sexual relationship with our partner. So the first one is sexual self-confidence. So this means if you've got any wounds around sex or around what you bring to the sexual relationship, or your ability or lack thereof to feel attractive. All of that is around your sexual self-confidence, and it's important to be able to know how to cultivate your own attraction and the attraction of your partner to heal any wounds around your any sexual wounds. Some of my clients in the past have been wounded with sexual experiences, and those are things that we need to heal in order to move forward in our romantic relationships. It's very, very important because there's a level of trust that needs to happen and be present there for that. And then just your confidence in what you're bringing to the table. What is it that you have to offer the sexual relationship? So there's different aspects to our relationships. And when we're talking about our sexual relationship, it's the same kind of thing. It's like, what am I bringing? What am I confident in myself that I'm bringing into the relationship? So that's one. Number two is pleasure. So we have to admit and love and appreciate that sex brings us pleasure. And a lot of that pleasure is from the way that we are receiving the sexual exchange or the sexual energy. And the things to note about that are how to, number one, draw forth, summon or hone or bring forward my own sexual energy. So sometimes our partner wants to have sex more than we do, and sometimes it's the opposite of that. And it's important to have balance in that equation, so that way you are meeting each other's needs and meeting your own at the same time. And so the ability to be able to draw forth and summon your sexual energy, not to be dependent on what your partner is doing or not doing, is important, because again, your relationship is going to be a reflection of what you've got going on inside of you. So if you want to bring forth sexual energy in this moment or in this night or whatever it is, then you want to be able to know how to draw that forth and bring it forward. And then the other side of that is to know how to tone it down if you have sexual energy and your partner doesn't. So knowing how to move your sexual energy within and within you into the relationship, or to even store it for a later time, or to release it. And this is not just about, physical release and actually having a sexual act. It's a fun and playful, flirtatious energy. So you can actually release that sexual energy in other ways outside of the act of sex itself. And then to move from that place of being fulfilled sexually into being able to offer pleasure to your partner. So when we offer pleasure to our partner and we're not fulfilled first, we are doing it out of a neediness or a manipulation is another word. So it's like, well, I'm doing this to you because I expect you to do something in return to me. And that's where our sexual energies get crisscrossed, and conflicts happen, and it creates a negative sexual energy around sex itself, which is something that is not meant to be in that state. It's meant to be fun and playful and pleasurable. So in order for us to move in a positive sexual energy, we need to be able to take personal self-responsibility for honing and drawing forth our own sexual energy. And then once we can do that, then we can cultivate and draw forth that sexual energy within our partner, and give of our sexuality to our partner as a gift with no strings attached. So pleasure would be number 2 there. And then number 3 would be knowing how exactly to balance the masculine and feminine roles of sexual energy. So, naturally men are the providers and protectors, and naturally women, or the feminine, is the nurturing. She brings that nurturing forward. So when we bring these energies into our sexual exchange, we want to understand, okay, well, who's going to be the leader? Who's going to be the one that is open to the exchange, and who's the one responsible for the depth of the exchange. So what that means is igniting the sexual desire and leading through that sexual desire and passion. And then there's the other side of it, which is responsible for the depthness of the connection that is exchanged. As I said before, it's a very intimate conversation that can happen there. And so these are both important aspects, and they're sort of the yin and the yang of our sexual exchange. So it's important actually to, while you may have a dominant preferred role, either masculine or feminine in sex, it's important to actually flip-flop them every once in a while and be the receiver instead of the giver. Or sometimes to be able to have like a very mutually giving and receiving exchange within that sexual experience. Oftentimes, if you have a partner that's a leader in their normal world, perhaps they're a CEO or something like that, they want to be the receiver in sex. And the opposite is true as well. So often we naturally attract our opposites. So think about it in that way. So if you are the leader in your outer world, and your partner is not, is more of the nurturer, so to speak, then in sex, then the partner would probably prefer to be the leader, or it would be really good for them to step into that other side of themselves, and the leader in the outer world to step into that really receiving mode. And then number 4 is fun. It's about bringing the pleasure, the joy, the playfulness, the flirtation, the sort of just raw ability to be authentic and yet playful and enjoying each other in this exchange is very important. So being able to cultivate and bring that not only within yourself, but making it a priority to really honor that piece. Sometimes there's a sense of adventure that happens there, or sexual adventure, and just honor that piece within you and within your partner and within the relationship, meaning nurture it and bring joy into it. You know, sex isn't meant to be in your head. It's meant to be the time and space, this beautiful sacred space to just be raw, naked, real, and playful. And number 5 is about connection. So it's about a sexual connection. One partner in the relationship is going to tend to be the one that feels connected through sex, through the conversation and the sexual conversation that you have together. So if you end up neglecting that conversation or making that conversation sort of mundane, where you're checked out and just going through the motions, your partner's not going to feel that connection to you. And that connection is something that we need to maintain and nurture across time. It's not something to just, do every once in a while and then forget about it. It's something to make sure that is present and that you bring your present into the sexual exchange, and that you find the connection for yourself and for your partner, and you nurture that within the relationship. Oftentimes couples get into a standstill because this one will say, well, they're not nurturing the closeness and the meaningful relationship, and that is important to me, so I'm not feeling connected to them, so therefore I don't want to have sex with them. And this one's saying, well, I'm not feeling connected to them because they are not, we don't have sex anymore, or we're not having sex, and so therefore I don't want to feel or pursue that kind of connection with them in that meaningful conversations or such. And so you have sort of a catch-22 or a standstill. So who's the person that really is the one that opens that patterning back up? Well, I want to just say, as I do often, that if you're watching this video, it's you. you are the one that's going to be the bigger person, because there's something inside of you that is connected more to understanding and awareness and concern about the things that are going on in your relationship. So in order for you to take responsibility for that role that you're naturally attracted to, is to fulfill yourself first. So when we're in this standstill, we need our partner to sort of fulfill us. And so it's important for you to fulfill yourself. So if you're the partner that wants and craves that sexual connection as your way of connection, then you have to find sexual connection within yourself, or fulfillment within yourself first. So that way you can give from a full cup, without strings attached, so to speak. And then you start nurturing the way that they feel most loved or connected. There's that book that is The 5 Love Languages. And so that's one of them. Physical connection is one of those love languages. And in order for you to be the one that nurtures them, you can't give to their love language from a needy place, because that energy doesn't produce more and more of what you want. It actually creates less of what you want. So you have to be able to do it from a fulfilled place. So knowing how to fulfill yourself first, and that's partly where that area of self-confidence and sexual confidence and all of that comes into play, so that way you can nurture that. So those are the 5 areas of sexual mastery that I have found to be very important at nurturing, cultivating, and knowing what to do with that aspect. And so if you pursue learning more about them, then you will be so much more equipped to have that sexual, passionate marriage throughout the years of your life. So I'll speak to you later. Bye for now.